hosting us.
Thank you.
Cheers. Mom for you. We're very lucky. We don't get a rabbi and a doctor. It's like a Persian mom's dream and nightmare at the same time. We're lucky to have a 2-for-1 tonight. I'll tell you a little bit about Rabbi Dr. Amiri, and then I'll just share kind of my experience. But he has a rabbinic degree from Neri Yisrael. Neri Yisrael, just so you know, is where probably some of the top rabbis graduated from. They came straight from Iran to a yeshiva in Baltimore. Rabbi Israeli's from there, Rabbi Zargari's from there, Rabbi Dr. Amiri's from there. It's like the Harvard of yeshiva. Yeah. I did not go there. In case you're wondering. And he also has a doctorate degree in clinical psychology from Chicago School of Professional Psychology. He was the executive director of Yachad Kollel for about 8 years and became a very sought-after speaker. I know we've been trying to get him for Shabbaton for Westwood for 3 years now. We're still working on it. He's a pastoral counselor, licensed psychologist, and he's got 25 years of experience. But more importantly, he's a great person. And, you know, there's a lot of people who do something for a living. There's other people who live by that. And Rabbi Dr. Amiri really lives in his passion about what he does. And he really cares about the people. He really cares about the Jewish nation. Really good. And I don't know how he does everything he does. He has a lot of hats that he wears on a day-to-day basis. I've seen him speak on different occasions. But he's a wealth of knowledge. He's a father of 7, Baruch Hashem, and somehow he's a grandfather of 4. Oh, I remember the first grandchild, Baruch Hashem. And so without further ado, Rabbi Dr. Amiri, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Roy and Nahal, thank you so much for hosting this beautiful event together. Roy said, let's talk about relationships, some tips on how to improve our relationships for singles and young couples. So you could take any of these ideas into your personal life, and hopefully later I'm going to see you and tell me that your relationships have been better. One of the questions I ask young couples or people who are dating, I do dating consultation, premarital counseling. I ask them, imagine that it's about 20 years down the road. You've been married, you have a 20-year-old daughter or son, and they want to get married, young. And right before you walk to the chuppah, right before they're about to take their next step into a married life, they look at you and say, Mommy, Daddy, in one nutshell, tell me one word I should remember that you think this is the foundation that's going to help me to have a good marriage. What would that word be? What would you say? Communication. That's a great word. Respect. Thank you. Kindness. Friendship. Trust. Giving. Reciprocation. Honesty. What else? Loyalty. Commitment. Every single concept that you guys mentioned are extremely important. But if you want to say one thing, I believe there is one word that would encompass them all. Love above love. Somebody has been in my talk before. He's a smart guy. Change. Give him some change. I don't have dollar bills. Change. Change is the word. And what do I mean by change? Change means that we are built by our habits, by our genetic predisposition, by our nature and nurture. We are who we are. And if we want to stick to be who we are in for a great surprise and a lot of disappointment. We cannot stay who we are. You want to have a marriage relationship or any relationship that needs close proximity, we need to learn that we need to change. We need to accept that we want to change. We need to have flexibility to change. Otherwise, one person needs to suffer because the other person does have tendencies that is uncomfortable. Imagine a husband and wife that one of them has a tendency to spend a lot of money, and the other one has a tendency to be very frugal and careful about money. How could their marriage survive? They're going to get into a lot of fights. You spend a lot of money, you don't spend a lot, you don't want to spend. It happened to me and my wife. I'm a person who had no clue how to spend money. And I would just, some people are on seafood, whatever food they see, they eat. I was on sea money. I see money, I spend the money. So I got married. I'm in a kollel, in a yeshiva, learning, and a very meager salary. And I would just buy, especially books. I love the books, Jewish books. I would see books, $10, $20, $30. I would buy. I have a library of thousands of books. If you come to my home, sometimes we decided if you do not have one of these flat beds, I could just put books and put the mattress on it. It uses a good, nice flat bed. I have a lot of books. I would just buy books. My wife told me that, are you out of your mind? You're going broke. I said, no, Hashem will provide. I was kind of stupid, naive. And from the other side, she was a kind of tendency that she is very frugal. She was living by herself a few years as a teenager in US, and she learned how to manage money, but a little bit overboard. She was conscious, overly conscious. So we got into a lot of fights, but we both were committed that we need to learn. On the spectrum, I was too much, and she was very much the other side. We needed both to come in the middle. So we learned from each other. We were both willing that the other person could influence me. Dr. John and Julie Gottman, they are two top therapists, couple therapists in the world. In San Francisco, they have a Gottman Institute. They have great books. If you ever want to read a book about marriage, they have wonderful books about marriage. John and Julie Gottman, the Jewish. Dr. Gottman actually has a small kippah on his head, very little. He believes in tikkun olam. So he says one of the most important elements in marriage in order for it to work is the ability to be influenced, the capacity that I could accept from my spouse to be different. That's the same word as change. So me and my wife were having these fights. I tell you a funny story. When our first child was born, and she's by now 30 years old, that's the mother of one of the three of our young grandchildren. She was about a few months old, and I remember buying diapers was expensive. At that time, each diaper counted about 25 cents. And I said that every time, a few times a day. So when it was on sale at Toys R Us in Baltimore, I went to Toys R Us, they put mega boxes that were like 60, 80 of these diapers in it. And it went half a price. I remember about $49.99, it went to $24.99, half price. I remember I got about like 10 or 15 of those boxes. I bought and I put it on a credit card, come home, I put it on one side of the room, all the way to the top, you see a wall of diapers. And my wife comes in and she sees the wall and she says, what just happened? I said, it was on sale. Don't worry, half a price. I have a credit card, 0% is gonna take away. She says, what are you out of your mind? I said, listen, we are changing diapers every day, 4, 5, 6 times. It's a lot of money. She says, you're out of your mind. You got diaper, this is size 2. In few weeks, she's gonna be size 3. What are you gonna do with the rest? At that moment, I realized that the male brain somehow did not evolve enough as female brain. I said, oh, you're right. So I was thinking about something to rescue myself. I said, you know what? We're planning to have more children too. So we're going to have a few of these, and then we're going to leave. She says, well, over my dead body, I'll be looking at that wall of diapers for the next few years. You go return them now. And you know, when your wife is upset to the degree that you feel in 5 minutes, you have to call Chevra Kadisha. That's a dead mortuary for the Jewish people. I said, don't worry. I'll immediately, I remember I borrowed one of my friend's minivan in order to bring it home. I go back, I said, I need your minivan. There is an emergency. 911, I said, no, all I need is your minivan. I filled it up. Baruch Hashem, I still had the receipt. I'll return most of those. I just kept some of them. But I realized at that point that my spending habits are whack. I need to learn to come. I was ready to listen. I used to buy books. She said, listen, you see a book, you don't have to buy the book immediately. Wait a day or two. You're impulsive buyer. I listened. I would go in the yeshiva, they have a new book, new sefer, and I'm becoming a rabbi. I want to know about a lot of things. I pick up the book and said, oh, I could really use this book. I want to buy it. I said, you know what? I promised my wife, I'll wait a day or two. I put it down, feeling like the book is going to slip out of my hands. By the time I come tomorrow, no, this book is going to be out of print. That's the feeling I had. I left the book right there. 24 hours later, I passed by the work. I said that I could do without it. If I want, I could borrow it from somebody. That helped us from bankruptcy. By the way, if you can't get bankruptcy just because of one of those habits, I listened to it. From the other side, I remember she was very frugal. She was very careful about me. I'm the only breadwinner. She's taking care of a child. That Passover, Pesach, you need to clean up the house. She was doing it after having a child. She was doing it all by herself. I said, let's just get a maid to help you. It's easy. It's easier for you. It's hard for you to do it. She said, no, I could do it myself. I see she's bending down. She already had an epidural on her back after having a childbirth. It wasn't easy. She's cleaning. And I'm telling her she doesn't want to spend the money. So she was overly frugal. Didn't want to spend the money. I remember night of Pesach, we were sitting down and she's having tremendous amount of pain on her back. She exerted herself beyond what she could do, and one of her discs started acting up. So it was so much that we had to go and get an MRI for $750 because our insurance did not cover it at that time. And when she paid that money, she said, I'm going to listen. Next year, for Pesach, we had one of these Russian, back East Coast, like here, that you get a Spanish one. One of these Russian ladies came, helped my wife. We paid maybe that was $5 an hour that time. It goes like 30 years ago. We paid out of our pocket 20 hours, $100, but we saved $750. So she learned also to change. After a number of years, we both started coming towards the middle, happy medium. We both changed, but because we were ready to change. Now come and tell me that you need to love each other. I love her, but I also love books. You come and you have to commitment, friendship, trust, communication. All those are nice words. But if I don't want to change, it's a life of hell with me because I want to spend money and my wife is suffering with me. Or I want to see my wife also taking care of herself and she wouldn't do it. So change is the key word in anything you want to do. Are you ready to change? Are you willing to change? Are you open to change? Or are we stubborn, thinking, I'm okay, I'm good, everybody else crazy, let them change? So that's a stubbornness, that's a dictatorship, that I feel I'm better. That's somewhat of a narcissism, that I feel I'm entitled to my opinion. Nobody can tell me what I should do. I am the best. I'm the best. So change is an important factor. If you could take one word, take it, that be ready to change. Be ready to work on yourself. I'm ready to be influenced by you in order for us to live together in harmony. Another concept which is important. Anybody knows about who Marshall Linehan is? I saw here one of our friends, Kevin. Where's Kevin? So some of these therapists over here. Marshall Linehan. Who knows who Marshall Linehan is? Marshall Linehan is a therapist. She's about 80 years old. She was born in 1943. She was diagnosed with schizophrenia when she was a teenager. The kind of behavior that she had, defiant, aggression, fighting, having hallucinations, many issues she had. She was abused emotionally, verbally, physically, sexually, in any way. She ended up in jail. She ended up cutting herself. And by today's parameters, we would call that she has borderline personality disorders, BPD, which is one of the hardest personality disorders to treat. Really hard. She was doing many, she was also addicted. She ended up in jail a number of times, juvenile and later, and she had therapy for many years. So later, she really redeemed herself. She went back to school. She got her degree in therapy, and then she got her doctorate degree, and she's Dr. Marshall Linehan. She wrote a thesis about a way of therapy called dialectical behavior therapy, which is called DBT. And in that formula, she does have a number of approaches for a person to work on themselves, or a therapist to help patients to work on themselves, that are very in line with Jewish ideas. One of the things she says that I believe if a person can learn that, again, that could go a long way, is opposite action. Opposite action means that we have urges, we have emotions, we have impulses, that I want to say something, I want to do something, I'm angry, I want to scream, I want to fight. She says, do the opposite of what you want to do. Do the opposite. Don't give in to your emotions. Don't give in to the anger. Don't give in to that feeling of sadness. Don't just go against it. I want to cuss out this person. No, I want to get into fight. I want to go in a screaming match with my spouse. Don't. Go against it. Specifically speak in a low tone, in a low voice, in a calm voice. And you see it's going to affect you and affect the relationship. This concept is actually a Jewish concept. It's brought in the Torah itself. And the person who talks about it the most is Gaon Mivilna, Gra. He was one of the scientists of Jewish philosophy, one of the big rabbis about 200 years ago. He says in his book that, I'm going to say it in Hebrew, then I'm going to translate. Ikar chiyut ha'adam hu lishporet mitotav ve'im ayin lama lo chaim. The main purpose for a person to live in this world is to break his character traits, his tendencies. That's the main reason you're alive. And so ve'im ayin, and the person doesn't want to do it, lama lo chaim. Why is he alive? He doesn't have any purpose to live. Your purpose to live is to break your tendencies. I have a tendency. So that means when you talk to somebody and he says, this is who I am, I get angry, take it or leave it. I mean, that's the end of, as if that he's saying, God, I have finished my job in this world, you can take me away. When I work with clients, with husband and wives, young and old, there are always hope. Always a lot of hope. At one point, is a very sad moment, I think it might not be there any more hope, that one of them will come and say that, this is who I am. You want it, no, don't want to leave. That means the person is saying that, I'm not ready to change, I'm not ready to break anything. I don't want to break. If I feel like it, I'm going to do it this way. I remember one time I told a spouse, had a great sense of humor, all his friends loved him, but he had also a way of teasing people. Especially his wife was a sensitive soul, and he would make jokes, and she would be hurt. And she would say, I don't want, please don't do it. And he said, this is who I am. This is who I am. I joke. I said that your wife is hurt. And some of the jokes that you're making actually makes her cringe. He didn't want to accept. This is who I am. To the degree that she's suffering. Or I had the other way. I had a wife that she believed that every month she needs to change the decor of the house, and she would spend literally over $1,000. And the husband said, I can't afford this. She said, I can't. I told you when you got married, I told you. You told me. I didn't know to this degree. She's not willing to change. She said, this is who I am. I believe that this needs to be done. You must provide for me. So I'm not going to tell somebody, to go get divorced because of it. Go get maybe a loan on this. But when a person says that I'm not ready to change, I don't want to break my habits, that means you are living with a dictator. It's so painful. That's something to remember. So opposite action has been shown in therapy to help a lot people, especially in relationships. Somebody says communication. I'm sure all of you believe. What are some of the tips on communication? In communication, something is very important is that I first need to learn to listen before I need to learn how to talk. In the words of Stephen Covey, he said that in order to be understood, first understand. And in order to understand others, we need to be able to listen to them. Many of us, we don't know how to listen. Somebody's talking, and I'm immediately becoming defensive, formulating an answer, rather than trying to really understand what the person is saying. Many times I try to help the couples do reflective listening with each other. And suddenly the light bulb goes off. Husband and wife have been having a lot of fights with each other. And they come and say, let's do this. This is an experience that practice could do at home. I tell them one person is going to talk for 2 minutes. You're going to be facing each other, eye contact. One person is going to talk for 2 minutes, around 2 minutes, a little less or more, about one concept, or a few concepts related to each other. The other one is going to listen, eye contact, fully paying attention. After you finish, I'm going to ask the other party, you have 30 seconds to recap. Say what you heard. Just report what you heard. You don't need to apologize. You don't need to defend. You don't need to interpret. You don't need to come and attack them back. Not all you said that. What I heard you saying, sweetie, is that's what you said. You don't know how many people come and it's so hard for them. They can't. They can't. Just do it with your spouse. Do it with your friend. You see, it's hard because we are built in to just defend ourselves. We can't just listen to understand somebody. Just understand. What are they saying? And if you tell them, this is what I'm hearing from you, That by itself is so soothing. Oh, you heard me. I feel heard. Even if you disagree, even if you don't think what I'm saying is absolutely correct, or even I don't agree to 5%, but you heard me. It goes such a long way. Husband and wife, they were talking about something. I told them, okay, take. The wife started saying that I told you that when we got married, for me, it's very, very important that whenever there is an anniversary, there is a birthday, or there is an occasion, that you would need to buy something for me. And when you don't buy something, it means that you don't care about me. And she went on and on. You did this on our Valentine's Day. You came home empty-handed. You forgot my birthday. I needed to remind you. Said, okay, let's go outside. And she gave a whole list. Husband was listening. And finished, husband started saying that, let me tell you about Valentine. This, I said, wait. I asked you to be a reporter. Neutral reporter. Not CNN, not any. You are neutral. You are just reporting. You are not going to find about 10,000 dead people in a cemetery, pull them out and say that Israel killed this, that. No, just be neutral, be honest, and say what has happened. So what did you hear? I heard a bunch of nonsense. I said, you didn't, that you again. You are giving your interpretation. What did she say? If I just tell you, just be a reporter. He couldn't even express it. Why? Because he's defensive. And at the end, after half an hour wrestling with each other, which was very tiring, he agreed. He said that if I say what she said, it means I agree, and that means I'm a loser. I'm a horrible husband. That's why I cannot even mention. I said, what about if I tell you that you are not a horrible husband? No, I said, okay, let's role play. I'll be instead of you. And I asked her that she should tell me as if I'm the husband. So she said the same thing again. She was laughing, we laughed, and she told me, and I said that, sweetie, I heard you saying that you told us at the beginning of marriage that you want all the occasions to be remembered. If it's Halloween, if it's Valentine, if it's your birthday, if it's anniversary, if it's your grandmother's anniversary, you want us to remember and do something about it. And from your perspective, many times I have felt, I have forgotten, I have ignored, I have dismissed, and you have felt terrible and you feel that I don't care about you. 15 seconds. I said, yeah, that's what I said. I said, did I hear you? Yes. How do you feel? She felt, I feel understood. She already was calmer. I said, you see that? And said, because you're not her husband. I said, you tried once. So I got him at the end. He did it. I'm telling you, there was a transformation. It was hard for him. It was hard. And you see that he's suffering. He's a torture. He said, I said, okay. I said, can I answer now? I said, no, you don't need to answer. Just let her hear that she understood you. You understood her. She feels heard. Now, before you give an answer, let's go the other way. You do the same. So he said, oh, it's my turn now? Okay. Now he prepared himself and said that, you know, I told you that it's important for me to go to my mother's home for every Friday night because my mother is old, and if she dies, I will feel guilty for the rest of my life. My father is dead. Your parents are alive. They're younger. And I told you, and that you said because you want to taste your mother's gondi, you pulled me off for Shabbat to go to your mother's home. Do you know what the suffering I had? My mother called me and cussed me out. And I asked her, can you respond? Can you say what you heard? I said that. I heard that he loves his mother more than me. I said, no, that's not what he said. No, this is a mama's boy. He was like that from the beginning of marriage. I said that. The umbilical cord is made out of steel. Somebody should come and cut this. I didn't marry him with his whole family. It was hard for her to just acknowledge. Again, it took us time to just say, okay? Begrudgingly, she said, you said that you wanted to go to your mother's home because she's old and you're worried she's going to die and you're going to feel guilty. And I've pulled you out of your mother's home many times. I'm telling you, suddenly, as if fire has gone down with ice. Did you feel hurt? Yeah. But she's not listening anymore. I said, okay, let's go one step at a time. Do you feel somewhat better? He said, yeah, I feel better. I feel partially better. It was hard for him to give credit. Men usually have that problem. He said, yeah, it's partially. I said, fine, you're going to go to next level. There are steps after this to do, but that reflective listening, gives the other party a feeling of you matter and your feelings matter and I care to know how you feel. That's an empathic response. That's connecting to someone's soul. That's giving someone else's heart value. Your emotions matter. Even if I don't see it that way, even if I have not felt such a thing like you before, but you matter. Reflective listening. And again, sometimes you need help, but try it at home. And if you start killing each other, contact me. I have some other solutions for you. But communication means at the beginning, you try to listen, try to understand before you want the other person to understand you. Another tip in relationship is that lowering expectation. Lower expectation. Expectation is the mother of disappointment. Could be the father too. Expectation means that I create a space in my heart, that space I believe needs to be filled with something that I believe I deserve. Life needs to give that to me. I expect such a thing. Even an impression, even some expression, even somebody giving me anything. It could be even spiritual, physical, emotional. That space, if it's left as a void, then I feel betrayed, I feel dejected, rejected, I feel abandoned, and the most of I feel disappointed. If that doesn't exist, I will not feel disappointed. Expectation is that I feel something must be done a specific way. He should say such a thing. She should do such a thing. Lower the expectation. Reasonable expectation is okay, but too much expectation could always bring about disappointment. We could talk about expectation a lot, but I have a number of points that I want to cover. So I leave the rest to you. Maybe another time we could talk about these things. Being aware of expectation is important too. What are the reasons that you get disappointed at your spouse? What? I mean, at your coworker? At anybody? The reason you get disappointed is because deep down there might be expectation that should not have been there to start with. It could be unreasonable. People have those expectations from their kids, and they suddenly feel that when you feel disappointed at your child, it's more devastating actually than your spouse, because kids are so impressionable and they need our approval. And when you give a child a message that I'm disappointed by you, they don't look at their actions or their products. They look at their own self-value. My worth has gone down. I'm valueless. I'm worthless because I disappointed my parents. So it's important to work on that while you are in a relationship. Another tip is about, there is a word in Hebrew. How do you say appreciation in Hebrew? Thanking somebody. There's a word called modim, modeh. Modeh means to thank. Also, modeh means to admit. In order to thank somebody, I first need to admit. In Hebrew, there's another word called hakarat hatov. Hakarat hatov means also to appreciate. Hakarat hatov are two words. Hakara means recognition. Tov means good. There are two steps. In order to appreciate somebody, first there needs to be a recognition, and then could be an expression or a feeling. If there is no recognition, you can't appreciate. Recognition means that I have the eyes and I have the awareness that there are good points about this other person. We're talking about my spouse. There are good points about them. There are positive points. And these positive points are things that I appreciate in life. Many times I have people who get into fights, and when I ask them that, name for me few things you appreciate about the other party, they can't say anything. Why? Because when we're angry, we can't see anything good about the other person. Our mind completely gets overwhelmed, inundated with negativity and anger and disdain. I can't say anything good about them. That's why it's important that we have this recognition before. If you could write it down, have a notebook in your phone, note somewhere, write down, these are the positive points. I have mentioned to many people that, I don't know if you have WhatsApp. I believe WhatsApp is one of the best things, because even if you're not on social media, WhatsApp is a great way of communication. You don't go onto the channels, or don't be part of so many groups that constantly send you, or you just leave, or they call it BLM, Block, leave, mute, BLM. So nothing political about Black Lives Matter. But in WhatsApp, I tell husband and wife, make a group together, and the group should be called Things I Appreciate About You. And in that chat, the only things you write things that you appreciate about your spouse, and they could things they appreciate about you. And you could be doing it day in, day out, adding things. That you, everything else goes over somewhere else. And that's all you have. After a while, you have a whole list of things you appreciate about each other. It goes both ways. It helps both of you. That when one of you feels bad about themselves, they could look at it and say that, look, somebody else who's significant in the world to me believes in me. These are my good points because I can't remember them when I'm not feeling so well about myself. It's a great reminder. And when you're upset at them, you can look and say, listen, look at this. I mentioned about 2 weeks ago, you're so kind, you're so giving. I love the way you cook food. I love the way that you take care of my parents. I love the way that you're flexible. Or the wife said, I appreciate that you spend so much time earning money. I appreciate that you allow me to spend money on these things. You're generous. You're good looking. I appreciate the fact that you took care of me when I was sick. I appreciate the fact that you're so careful about talking in front of my friends, about my family. The list could go on and on and on. So many things. When you look at that list, at the moment you're upset, before talking, look at the list. You say, oh, wow, I totally forgot about those. Okay, each person has their own issues. Has their own issues. They have their own issues. Okay, but there are so many positives. See the good. When you see the good, then the negativity is not going to overwhelm you like a tsunami of emotion to completely wipe out anything good in your relationship. That's what Hebrew is hakarat hatov. Recognize the good, then you could appreciate what is there. If you don't see the good, it doesn't happen. There is a pasuk in Tehillim, Ur'eh betuv Yerushalayim. It says you should see Yerushalayim in good. What does it mean you should see Yerushalayim in good? It says Ur'eh Yerushalayim tov. If you want to say see Jerusalem which is good, no. See the good in Jerusalem, because if you want to live in Jerusalem, you want to live in Yerushalayim, there are many times that things are not going to be fun. There could be missiles, there could be Arabs attacking you, there could be an anti-Semitic, because it's so many things. If you see the goodness in Jerusalem, like people who are there, you don't want to leave because you appreciate the land. When October 7th happened, my son is there, he's 24. That happened, many students, they had gone there to Israel for a study, seminary yeshiva, many thousands of them by droves, they started all flying back. They were afraid, oh my goodness, this is horrible, there is a war. I called them up, me and my wife said, do you want us to get the ticket for you to come back? He said, what do you mean? This is the best time to be here. They need us. I said, how? You won't believe the stories he said. He was seeing the good, the opportunity. This land needs me. He said, you don't understand. They called us and they said that we need a group of young men to come, and we need to dig 700 graves because the bodies are being coming, and all the young men who have gone all to the front line, they're all soldiers. We don't have people to help us. He got a call about 11 p.m. He told his friend, you're going to go early in the morning. They woke up 5 a.m. They prayed. 6 a.m. they are in the location. They tell them that the job is done. What happened? We sent the message out. About 200 to 300 young men showed up throughout the night and they dug the graves. We have 700 graves right. Unfortunately, I didn't send my son to dig graves in Israel, but the fact that he's there and he says that this is what I could, this is looking at the good. There's an opportunity for me to help my people. This is my nation. Yerushalayim. He said Yerushalayim is the best place on earth, the safest place. He says he was so disappointed with his friend. They were walking back to the place that they stay, and said on the way back we saw a young lady with few little kids in her tow, standing up, a 5-year-old, 3-year-old, 2-year-old, and a little infant. And she said, flags them down. Can you help me? What do you? My husband, on October 7th, on that day, they called him as one of the reservists. He went on Shabbat. It was Shemini Atzeret. It was their Yom Tov. He said he got into his clothing and he left. He said, few days the sukkah is up and I can't take it down on our porch and it might rain or it's not safe. I want to pay you. can you bring it down for me and put it into the storage? My son said, I was jubilant. I said, let's go, yes. And she said, oh, they're going to make money. So he said, within 2-3 hours, we brought the sechach down and the walls, we unscrewed everything, we put everything into the storage neat. She wanted to pay. He said, me and my friend told her, you don't understand. We can't be soldiers because we just came from US. They're not going to allow us to go to IDF. This is the way we could be soldiers. This is what we could do. You want to pay us for it? You appreciate that. You did us a favor. We were so disappointed that we lost opportunity to help the country. And he said the next day, they took their guitar. He plays guitar with this. With the guitar, they went to the hospital. They started playing with the guitars. At the same time, we had many kids who came back and they were afraid, oh my goodness, missiles. I think he has my genes. I was in Iran when Saddam Hussein was sending rockets to Tehran. And none of you, I think, was old to remember those things. It was back in 80s. I remember missiles flying over our head, and I was excited. Look, oh my goodness, look at that! Look at this! I was out of my mind. When you're a kid, you don't think. As a teenager, 17-year-old, people go into a shelter. I was going to the roof, just trying to follow them, as if I have any control of. So he is looking at an opportunity. Ur'e letuv Yerushalayim. If you see something good, no matter what happens, you appreciate it. If you see the good in your spouse, no matter what happens, there is such a huge list of their great qualities that these other things that happen, okay, everybody has their knacks, and okay, we'll work with that. It's fine. How are we doing on time? You fine? Okay.
No one fell asleep.
Okay, fine. Okay. Now, another important point is the following. Respect versus love. Are they different? Are they the same? They're different. Many people don't know the difference between respect and love. They think if they love somebody, they're automatically respecting them. But there are two totally different qualities. We could love somebody and we have no respect for them. We could respect somebody, but we don't love them. If President Biden would walk in right now here, I'm sure we're going to all stand up. Hello, President. You respect him. I tell you that I don't love the guy. That I could tell you. I don't love him. I don't like him. I might even hate him. I might love Trump, but I'm not sure if I respect him because of some of the behaviors that he does. Okay, but I love the guy. And I want him to be my president. Because he's going to do for Israel. Okay, I'm becoming political here. But in order to understand your relationships, love and respect, not necessarily, people come and say, I love her. I love him. Love is not enough. Respect. This happens a lot. Beside husband and wife, it happens towards our kids. People love their kids innately. But that's the difference between a human being and an animal. Animals also love their kids, but animals don't respect their kids. There's no idea of respect. You never see a cat that wants to move one of her children to another location, go and tell the child, oh, sweetie, I don't want to grab the back of your neck as if I'm putting you on a, what do you call the noose. Can you walk after me and I take you somewhere? No, you need to go somewhere. I grab your neck and I pull you to somewhere. I love the child. I love that kitty, but I have no concept of respect. Human beings understand what respect is. But the problem becomes sometimes we respect somebody, but we can't love them. When you want to have a relationship, you need to pay attention to two distinct relationships, two ways that you could connect to somebody else, love and respect. If you want to know by the Musar, by the Jewish characteristic lens, what's the difference between love and respect? This is brought down in the works of Musar. It says that love means that you are part of me. I feel you as if that you're an extension of me. Love others as if as yourself. Means as if that they're you. If they would have been you, how would they have wanted to be treated? That's love. Respect means that you are a separate entity. And I acknowledge and respect the uniqueness that you have. You have to have your own space, your own privacy, your own boundaries. I respect you as a separate. Because if I don't respect your boundaries, I love you. I'm going to pass those boundaries. I'm going to violate the boundaries. That's where the respect doesn't exist anymore. So love, we are one. Respect, we are two. Love and respect together is that I understand that we are one, but at the same time, I recognize you as a separate entity, that you have your own needs. And there are needs that sometimes I can't even understand. I can't even relate to, but that's what you like. So I'm going to respect those needs and I'm going to provide it for you. Because if I just want to buy with love, if I don't understand something, I'm going to give it to you. I need to understand it. The child says, I want that. I'm like, what is this? That toy is so expensive. It's not durable. I'm going to buy you something else. I love you. I want you to play longer. I'm not respecting your wish because I'm not trying to understand you. You have a different set of desires and interests. So pay attention in your relationship. In relationships, that where is it that you're loving somebody without respecting him? And where are you respecting them without showing them love or giving them the sense of love? Important concept is that the message the message sent is seldom the message received. We think we are sending messages to others, and I did my job. I need to make sure that the message that you receive is what I intended to send. If there is a misunderstanding, I can't just shrug it off. It's your fault. I need to make sure to do my best that you do get my point. If you send the payment, I mean, nowadays we all do it electronically. Many years ago, we always had to mail a check. So Chase Bank, for a credit card, said that by 21st of the month, we need to receive the payment. Otherwise, there is a late fee and there is also finance charges. So 21st of month. I could go ahead and send it on the 19th, and I assume that 2 days later they received. They received it 3 days later. I could call them, okay. I could spend time, waste my time. Once or twice they might waive the late fee for me. But they said that I don't care when you send it. You need to make sure that by the time it reaches our office is 21st or before. You need to make sure you send it on time or get it to us. So they are cruel. But in relationships, our emotions could be cruel too, because we can't most of the time understand or read people's minds. What did they mean? The message you're sending me, it might be a different message that I'm receiving. So I try to do my best that if I'm sending a message to you, I want to make sure you understood it correctly. And if not, I'm going to clarify. I'm going to try to use the best tone, the best language, the best time in order to produce, in order to send a message to you. So I take responsibility for the message that I'm sending you. That is important in relationship. I can't say that's the way I understood. No, I care. I care. I remember there was a couple that no matter what I was trying to tell the husband and wife to send the messages properly, they weren't getting the message. They weren't getting my message as I tried. So once something happened, it really hits home. It goes many years ago. Anyway, anytime I share something about a client, for example, if I tell you that I'm telling you a story about a 35-year-old client from accountant from Los Angeles, you know for sure there are 3 things that you know about this client: that they're not 35 years old, they're not accountant, and they're not from Los Angeles. If I share anything, you would never know that who this person is. So this client from a number of years ago, over 10 years ago, husband and wife, they have a child, about a year old, and they've been fighting about communication skills, many other things. So once they come, and the wife comes and says that I'm sick and tired of him. He's so paranoia. What happened? He comes and says that I have proof that she wants to get divorced from me and take the child away from me. How do you have proof? He said, I come home. Every time I come this year, after a whole day of work, my whole day is just looking forward to come home. My year-old comes and to me, and I hug my child and pick her up. She loves me, and this is the delight of my life. That's the most important thing I have in my life. So, and I know my wife is trying to brainwash this child. I said, how do you know? So today I came, I walked in, my child looks at me, starts crying, whimpering, goes to the mother. What else could it be beside the fact that the mother has said the whole day, said that daddy is bad, Daddy is bad. Daddy is bad. Because she wants to do this to our child because she wants to get divorced and take money away from me and take a child away. I asked the wife, what do you think has happened? She said, I have no clue. I told him, today I took the child to the pediatrician. She was overdue for the vaccination that she needed. She needed to get few vaccinations, and doctor came and gave 3 vaccinations in one and 2 on the other one. She was cranky. I gave her Tylenol. I did, but she was cranky. No, is she cranky? That's the husband. That's more reason that she should come to me. I embrace her, give her love. I'm not a rocket scientist, but I happen to know what the husband does for a living. And I asked him, tell me, when you walked home, what were you wearing? He said, what difference? I said, what were you wearing? He said, I was wearing my scrubs. He's a doctor. I told him, just pay attention. A few hours ago, this little child has been in office. Somebody showed up with the same white scrubs. And this child is innocent, happy-go-lucky, and then suddenly this person who is a monster goes and the sticks and bang! Bang! The child has trauma. This is like a PTSD. The child is looking at, oh, my dad is going to do the same thing to me. He was honest. He said, oh, I'll accept that. I'll accept that. Oh, I give credit to him. It's hard for men to admit. He admitted. Yes, I accept that. I asked him right then and there. I told him, tell me, would you come tomorrow home again wearing your scrub? He said, no way. I just needed to come and wash it. So why not? Wear it, walk in, and the moment your child is about to cry, say that, sweetie, don't cry. This scrub pays for the mortgage. It's going to pay for your school. It's going to pay our vacation to Cancun or anything else good in life that you want, maybe for your college. Tell her, listen, stand up, understand. Are you trying? I said, no. I said, why not? Try to explain. You don't even attempt to do that because you love her and you don't want to hurt her. He said, I'm taking it off. I said, isn't the same thing with your wife? When you talk to her, there are a kind of words, expression that you use, and she feels threatened by you. And when I ask you, don't use those expressions. Try to replace them with something else. I say that it's her fault that she misunderstands me. Let her grow up. Say, don't do that. Why don't you do that? Well, say that I'm going to take off my scrub. My wife is scared of those kind of behaviors. And same thing for you. When your husband says that I don't like it, when you grab the child away from me, tell me that you don't know how to take care of her, and you see he's sensitive about this, the child is crying. Let the child cry. Let him figure out. Because he interprets the message as if that you're taking the child away. You are making some kind of a plan in order to kick him out of your life. They both agreed. Thank God they're both happily married. They understood those things and other things, but they were ready to change. They were ready to be influenced, at least by me and by them, by each other. That's the message in your life, that many times you might be sending a message that your spouse feels uncomfortable. And it's important that you change the message and you try to send the appropriate message, because the message that they receive is much more important than the message that you wanted to send, you intended to send. I said two or three more points fast. One of the main things I see by people who get married that causes a lot of issues is doubt. It causes many people who are not married so far. They go into the 30s and 40s and 50s and 90s, and they're not married yet because they're very doubtful that if I marry this person, I'm going to find someone better. I'm not going to regret. I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to regret. The doubt doesn't allow them. There's a perfectionism. There's a lot of expectation. So some people go ahead and they make a choice and they get married. The day after marriage, they're doubtful. They're regretting. Did I do the right thing? Maybe I should have waited for somebody else. This person is acting in such a way, that way. It's normal for every couple to feel at the first months or sometimes the first year or two of marriage that I made a mistake. It's normal. It doesn't mean that you're right. There are cases somebody might call, I made mistake. Nowhere. Nobody should have that experience. But more often than not, this is a play of our own psyche that is fooling us. that we doubt ourselves. And I see many people going to say that I should have waited. That's why I don't want to have kids. Okay, you want to wait 6 months, a year, in order just to make sure to get used to each other. That's okay. But don't walk around every other and say that I shouldn't have married you. I made a mistake. You're killing the relationship. Your doubt is your own work. You need to go find a therapist, a friend, a coach, somebody you could work with and work about your doubts. Doubt kills happiness, relationship, and having a sense of appreciation for the other person. Do not compare. Comparing is another one of those things. I compare, I look at that person has these qualities, those qualities, financial, physical quality, nothing. No comparing. You made your choice, you married. They said before marriage, have both eyes open. After marriage, have one eye completely shut and the other one half open. You're not looking at anybody else. This is the person I chose and this person I'm happy with. Don't go. The last thing is the point about trust that we all mentioned. Trust is tremendous in allowing us to get to a secure attachment. Dr. John Bowlby was a famous American psychologist. He came up with the attachment theory, which talks about at the first 3 years of life, we start developing how we look at life. If you have a secure attachment, you feel fine, you could trust others. If you don't have, you could be insecure, you could be avoidant, you could be anxious. If you want to ever read the book, Attached is a great book that you could see how the attachment theory works in a relationship. There are a number of books, and especially if you want to raise kids, there is a book called Calm Parents, Happy Kids. These are great books. So in attachment theory, we learn that the concept of trust is extremely important. If you want to build trust with your spouse, it's important that the first year or two of marriage, you try to be as honest, as transparent, as respectful as possible. If you break the trust of the other party by lying, by cheating, cheating on money, you say that I don't have money, or you don't allow them to know fully who you are. You are not completely transparent. They start doubting you. That's going to chisel out the trust that you have. Building trust takes many years, but we could, God forbid, ruin it in a moment. So take trust seriously. And if there are things that are affecting your trust between yourself, make sure that you seek help and see how you can help that the trust to be built further and further between you guys. I'm ready for your questions.
All right. Yeah.
Sure, pleasure. What's the time we have?
9:07.
9:07. So we did an hour. Good. I was able to cover them in an hour.
Wow, no question.
I think I put many of them to sleep. I see you're not taking an hour.
What do you
I'm just
recommend for?
Sorry. I'm sorry.
No, please.
Go ahead.
I have a question. So, a lot of people, given or I've heard, is that don't marry someone that person will change, or I'll change, or this. And you talk about
That's a great question. I hear your question. And I know what you're going to say. I said change is important.
I understand.
And at the same time, don't expect anybody to change. So one is talking about the attitude you have from the other person. One is talking about the attitude you have about yourself. Don't go into a marriage thinking that you're going to change the other person, or if they have something which is totally unacceptable to you, that hopefully the marriage will fix them and they will change. Don't go expecting the other party to change.
Expectation out.
Expectation out. But you can change if you want to work on yourself.
Right. What about if that person, they meet all of your criteria or whatever it is, that person isn't able to walk away?
They are not able to do what?
You talked about, like,
That's also a good question. The question is that you're hoping that the person will work on themselves and change to some extent, and they are not willing to, or they can't. Is it a time to say goodbye? It is a hard question to answer as a blanket rule. We need to see what is that expectation that we have. Are these things that we want from the other person crucial, essential for a marriage? Are these things essential about who I am that I cannot live without? These are the things that maybe if I give it time, there is a chance for it to. How much is the person showing flexibility and being able to be influenced by others? Those are important factors to take. And most probably it's good always to have a third party who's neutral, knowledgeable, experienced, and you can trust them to go and run it by them. That these are my doubts. These are the things that I want, and I'm not sure if this person can provide it. What do you think? And it's very good to go with that person you're dating or you got married to a third party. That's why it's very important. Me and my wife, we got married. We had one condition with each other, that if there are arguments that we cannot resolve, we would go and ask our rabbi. At that time, I was in the yeshiva. Later, a therapist. They have always had rabbis and therapists, supervisor that we always consulted with. Always. I have student loans that goes above 50,000. Major part of it was at the time that I was in the yeshiva, and I borrowed money to go to therapy for myself, for my wife, or to go for couple therapy, because we saw that what we learned from our parents wasn't sufficient in order to create a good life. We saw that, and it wasn't our parents' fault. They were old school back in Iran. They got married and said that whatever it is, you suffer. And in Persian, they say that you walk in with a white gown and you walk out with a white cloth around you to ready to go to be buried. But با لباس عروس لباس سفید میری با کفن میای بیرون. So there was a concept that you are stuck in the marriage. Here it's not like that. So we needed to learn that there are so many techniques that we need to learn in order to understand, to respect each other. Neither me and my wife, we both love our parents, respect them. They should live 120 years, definitely. But neither me and my wife, we wanted to have the same kind of marriage that our parents had. I didn't want, and she didn't want. We didn't want to have a kind of household our parents had. Nothing their fault. The education was not available to them. Nobody talked about having therapists, couple therapists, reading books about marriage. Nothing. Everything was intuitive. Intuitive. The kids don't behave, that's the way. Or you take your belt out. In the school was the same thing. And the spouse the same thing. You scream, you fight. Nobody knew how to deal with things in a more educated way. But we wanted to. My daughter is here, Baruch Hashem. I have 7 kids. I'm talking in front of her. When my kids tell me that, Abba, Mommy, we want to have a family exactly like you, we see that many years of reading books, going to therapy, asking advice, being ready to be influenced and working on ourselves and changed personalities, it has paid off. To me, that's valuable. So it's very important. You should have mentors in life. Without mentors, it's impossible. And then finding good mentors is hard. Somebody that you can trust. They have knowledge. They have experience. You feel that they care about you. You feel it's non-judgmental. You feel they're going to keep the confidentiality. There are few qualities. You're becoming vulnerable. In the words of Brené Brown, if you know, she's the top therapist who introduced the vulnerability. Brené Brown says, not everybody deserves to hear or know about your vulnerabilities. To find that it takes, I had to go to a number of therapists until I found somebody. When I was back then, I got married when I was 23. I was 22. By 23, I already had a child, but that's the time I went to look for a therapist. It took a few months choosing therapists until I found somebody that matched me and I felt comfortable. And I stayed with that person for the next 7 years while I was in Baltimore. I still love him. He's my mentor. I learned so much of my own working as a psychologist now come because what I learned from him. Because I was on the other side of receiving and I learned what it means to show love, empathic response, being able to be compassionate, understanding. I learned my modalities. It was CBT, cognitive behavior therapy, and family systems. I went to schooling, I learned psychoanalytic. Then I learned also about DBT. Then I learned about EMDR. Then I learned about attachment theory. And then about IFS. I learned so many, but now I look back and see that within those 7 years, he really shaped how I look at therapy. And then I came here, and then I looked again, finding somebody that I could look up to. It's very, very, I can't overemphasize. Having mentors in life is crucial. Crucial. Without that, people are, I don't know how people function. I don't know, I really don't know. I don't know if I would have been married if I wouldn't have mentors.
Or what are some, Rabbi mentioned, like working on yourself before you get married? What are some books Rabbi could recommend for single people or for a few of the married people?
For single people, about marriage or about generally working on yourself?
Working on yourself.
Generally working on yourself, there are two good books that it works on your character traits. Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is a fantastic book. And then they wrote the books also about teenager habits of husband and wife. Those books are really good if you read those. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Um, there is another book, the 10 Natural Laws of Life and Time Management by Hiram Smith. Hiram Smith also wrote this book the same time Stephen Covey wrote, and he started a company called Franklin Leadership, and then Covey had Covey Leadership. They merged together. They made Franklin Covey because they saw that many of the values they're teaching about are aligned with each other. So these are secular books. If you want to work on your characteristics, one of the good books is Tomer Devorah, Tomer Devorah. I'm sure you have suggested to others. This is a Jewish book by Rab Moshe Cordovero. Rab Moshe Cordovero was the teacher of Arizal. If you ever heard Arizal, this is the name on the top of the Mekubalim list. Kabbalah, Arizal, one of the top Kabbalists that lived about 450 years ago. Top Kabbalists. His teacher wrote a book, Tomer Devorah, which is pure Kabbalah, but written in a very simple language. How to work on your characteristics in order to be godly. And he talks about tolerance, patience, being able to accept others, working on yourself not to want too many things in life, but working on yourself to be better and better. There are great lessons in that. You could read that book for a lifetime and just review it again and again and again.
It's available for free on an app called Safaria. It's available for free in Hebrew and English.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
not
audio. But if you want to get Tomer Devorah, I would suggest that there are books that you want to write notes that they have beside the translation. They also have some commentary on the bottom that elaborates further.
You look on Amazon, you look Tomer Devorah Feldheim. That's a really good one. Feldheim.
I think you should send them later just a link. You find the links and say, because there are few of them. He's going to. Roy is great in this as being a great resource.
Sorry, can you repeat the second book?
The 10 Natural Laws of Time and Life Management. Hiram Smith. Hyrum.
Also, Committed Marriage.
Committed Marriage, great. Go ahead, Kevin.
So let's say you meet somebody and you love the way they are, you fall in love with them, you respect their characteristics, you appreciate the way that they think about things, and then 5 years or 10 years into their marriage, as we naturally do, they grow and they evolve. And they start to grow and evolve down a path that you really do not like. For example, this hasn't happened to me, but just a simplistic example. You both start out keeping Shabbat and keeping kosher, and you want to raise a Jewish home. And then as time goes on, one of the spouses realizes this actually isn't important to me. And sort of the foundation on which the relationship is built, one of the spouses is going in a very different direction. So they are changing, but they're not changing in a way that you find comforting or suitable for what you want.
Yeah.
What do you do in that situation?
Yeah. So the question was asked that if the person is changing away from what you guys started together, and rather than being more aligned together, there's no congruency and you're going in two different directions.
I feel understood.
Yeah, great.
That felt so good, Rabbi.
I'm glad. Thank you so much for giving the opportunity to provide the live example.
15 seconds.
We made up beforehand together. So something to know that I want to preface that with saying this, that when you want to get married, Some areas of characteristics, some things need to be the same, some things they do not need to be the same. Things that they need to be the same are values. Things that they don't need to be the same are your tendencies. Which I mean, values are how many kids you want to have. You want to keep kosher, you want to keep Shabbat. Which school you want to send your kids to. These are value systems. They need to be very much alike or close to each other. If one says, I want to have 2 kids, the other one says, I want to have 6 kids, that could be a problem. You should discuss it before marriage. One says that I do not want to drive on Shabbat. The other said that there is no one who drive on Shabbat. Those are the issues. You need to clarify those things beforehand. But one says that I want a house with 5 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms. No, these are not value systems. These are tendencies. These are things that you like in life. I want to go to Hawaii. I want to go to Italy. These things could change. I want to spend money. I don't want to spend money. Those things, even though if they are too different from each other, they could be complementary. They don't have to be the same. Saying that, being said, when you say 2 people had the same values, and now they both wanted to keep kosher, and now one says that I don't want to keep kosher, it always raises a flag, a red flag. What has happened between them? When you have values that are aligned and later it's changing, most often the connection between these 2 people is suffering. Because if you feel connected to somebody else, even if you don't want to keep something because of them, because of the relationship, you say, even if I don't care about this, because of them, the connection is suffering. If the connection doesn't suffer, if something is not being hurt, if something is not being offended or threatened, I'm willing to compromise. I'm flexible. It was about 22 years ago, year 2002. There were a group of mothers who were very upset at their kids who were becoming more religious. And they started a jihad against rabbis. And they said that we are going to teach these rabbis a lesson. They brainwash our kids. And we made a joke that this group of mothers, we call them Ma'or. Mothers against Orthodox rabbis. Ma'or in Hebrew means the source of light. It was anything but. So I remember that there was a gathering in Nesach. At that time, Dr. Ellis was the president of Nesach. He brought, and he was moderating. So there was a group of rabbis sitting one side, the group of people against them, and it will go a room of people. So somebody got up and said that, yes, these rabbis brainwash my kid. My kid doesn't want to eat in my home. I keep kosher and they don't want. She was talking. Her son, a 20-year-old son, he got up behind the mic. He had asked permission from his rabbi, can I speak if my mother says? And they said, yeah, as well as respectful. He went up and he said something I never forget. Young kid, he said, Mom, Dad, I apologize, but since you said it in front of others, I have to share that I don't think it's a matter of keeping kosher. I think it's a matter of being defiant and stubborn and resisting. I'm maybe changing the words, but this is the message he sent. He said, when my older brother, a few years ago, he suddenly decided to become vegan, you went out of your way to provide and have a special side in kitchen that he could do anything he wants, and you were so accommodating to him. But when I wanted to keep kosher, you and Dad went berserk. And you remember what Dad told me one night? He told me that you coming and telling us that you want to keep kosher nowadays is telling us that we are wrong, and I can never accept that. He said, it was not about keeping kosher, it's about your ego. You feel that I'm telling you you are wrong. You feel that I'm defeating you. And that's why you don't want to keep kosher. Otherwise, I didn't tell you guys to keep kosher. I come home, you don't want to keep kosher. I said, allow me, I buy something kosher, I make for myself. I want to eat in the kitchen. I want to be with you. You are the one who's fighting with me because you feel threatened by me. That made such an impression on me. Wow. That kid was really, I'm sure maybe he has gone to therapy. A therapist had helped them to express this so eloquently. But I learned a lesson. It was a question of value. It was a question that they felt threatened. You're coming here and you're undermining our authority. You're telling your dad that you are wrong. You've been living a wrong lifestyle. Let me teach you how to live. In fact, that's not what he wanted to do. Another son, he was on the, now I'm talking about, I remember another one. Another mother started going, these rabbis brainwash my child. I'm telling you, in order for him to get married, he should not have a beard. And he's growing a beard. He doesn't look nice. قیافش مثل آخوندهای پشپشو شده. He looks at these ayatollahs that have beard. And she was saying, and I remember one of the rabbis got up and said that, ma'am, you're absolutely correct. I have begged your son. I don't think the beard actually looks good on him. I told him to shave. He is not listening to me. So it wasn't. So when we talked to the son, he was getting back at them because they were fighting with him. He knew that this is something they hate. He says that you could control me. You could control my allowance. You could do anything, but you can't shave my beard. This is the way I show my defiance to you. So I'm saying that when you understand these things happen, see what's beneath the surface. I don't think people who start on the same values later, they start to depart. If they are not connected, yeah. If they are connected, because that intimate relationship exists, we flow together. I compromise for you, you compromise for me. That would definitely happen. So I would look at the relationship first before looking at to see that why does a person doesn't want to respect the other person's way. Did I answer your question?
100%. Thank you.
Sure.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Dating, there might be like 10 years older than them. But a lot of the time have doubts that about that.
So the question is that people are dating sometimes 10 or 15 years older than their age, and could it cause issues later that their values would go apart from each other because of the age gap?
As
Judgment because of the age. People who look at them that, yeah, you're 30 and he's 45. Yeah. So those things I think need to be addressed right at the beginning of the marriage. Before going into a committed relationship, a person needs to explore, discuss those things vulnerably, honestly, with the person and with a third party. I don't necessarily think it's an issue if people are older. I don't think so. But it needs to be discussed. If they are okay together, having an age gap later in life should not affect in any specific way. Again, intimate relationships, if there is a connectivity, if there is a mutual understanding and respect and love, those things can definitely be ignored. They grow together, they stay together. There is a concept, let's say, that if somebody is much older, that if they age faster than the other person, so now they are considered to be, let's say, old, that they cannot go on a trip, they don't want to travel, they can't take care of a child, and the other party feels left out. So that's a choice you're making. Take that into consideration. That if that happens, I'm still going to love them. I love them unconditionally. I'm marrying them for who they are, not what they're going to be in 10 or 15 years. Their personality is going to stay the same. Physically, they could be weaker. Maybe they cannot even function as intimate relationships in future as much. But I love them for who they are. And I'm going to accept it and tolerate it and not going to drain our relationship. So, but definite discussion at the beginning of marriage, honest communication could go a long way. Did I answer your question? Good. Anybody else? Yes.
What advice do you have about for couples about how they're start to have children? How does the dynamic of the relationship practice?
Yeah. The question is that what advice we could offer for people who are going to have kids, how the marriage, how the relationship is going to be impacted or changed, and what could we do? So that is and actually, yeah. It is a very bad joke. It's a very bad. I'm gonna say a bad joke. The question you're asking is considered to be. They say that it's like that a sweet and sour experience. That's a sweet and sour experience. Somebody said that you hear that again. It's a joke. You hear that your mother-in-law fell from a cliff in your new Rolls Royce.
Wow.
It's a joke. It's a joke. It's a joke. I love my mother-in-law. I don't know about you. So, and everything, something to wake you up. Having kids is this the sweet and sour experience. If you ask somebody, what's the most painful experience, the things that gives you the most pain in life? My kids. What's it that gives you the most joy, the most sense of relief, the most sense of feeling accomplished? Is my kids. It's the same thing that gives you joy, is the same that gives you pain. Having kids is not easy. Take it from somebody who has, thank God, I have 7 of them, ranging in ages from 10 to 30. So I'm in all ages and ranges. At one point, I had infant, I had in kindergarten, I had in pre-1, I had in elementary, I had in junior high, and I had in high school. So I was paying tuition at the same time to different babies and everything else. It was hard. My wife took care of many of those things, and credit goes to her. But I would do it all over again. And if you could have more, you would have more. I'm telling my wife, between the 6th and 7th child, she had 3 miscarriages. By now, we would have 10. So it was hard. People ask me, "Are you out of your mind?" Yeah, you need to be out of your mind. 100%. It takes insanity. Yeah, we are insane, and we actually inherit it from our kids. So, but it's the most celebrated, the most fulfilling experience, the most rewarding endeavor in life that you could have. Having kids is hard, but it's payoff. And some years it's harder, some years it's going to get used to it, but you feel that this is what I came into this world for. You should know. You could be the biggest rabbi, the biggest Jewish scholar that exists. You could be Moshe Rabbeinu. You could be Mashiach, for that sake. In order to sit on the high Jewish court, like a Supreme Court, there's a high Jewish court that they decide on many important matters of life and death, or matters of the community or governmental affairs. In order to sit, to be part of the Jewish Supreme Court, you must have children. If you are the biggest scholar, you're Moshe Rabbeinu, God spoke to you, but you never had children, even if you were married, but you never had children, you cannot sit on the Supreme Court, because you can't make decisions so crucial for other people's lives if you have never been mother or father. There is a dimension of us that never gets developed unless you're a parent. Parenthood makes you into a complete human being. So parenting is hard, but the outcome is phenomenal. That's how you become a great person. So having children has its own hardships. Not sleeping at night, having to pay attention to them, and then the cost would go up. You're not going to be able to go on trips as much as you want. Your choice of places to go are going to be limited, and it's going to tire you and your wife, you and your husband. They're going to have many prices that you have to pay, but it's worth it. You ask somebody who's a doctor, and said that, well, at the time that you're studying for MCAT, I'm sure there were nights that your friends called you that, let's go for hookah, let's go to a bar, let's go have fun. He said, I have an MCAT to take. You didn't go, and your friends were having fun. Okay. Someone asked you, now that you look back, do you regret not going on those fun trips with them? No, because I had a goal. I achieved the goal. I'm a physician now, and I appreciate the stature, the position, the money that I love it. I love what it brings for me. Being a parent is very rewarding, and we need to accept that for a period of time, I need to pay that price. The beauty of it is that you don't have to wait 10 or 12 years to become a doctor and start earning money. The moment that you hear that you are a mother or father, suddenly something changes in you. And they're born, suddenly you feel that you're a different person. They change you immediately. In Hebrew, we say, Al tikre banaich ella bonaich. Don't call your kids, call them your builders. They build you into a different being. So how can you prepare yourself? You prepare yourself mentally, that I know that this will be challenging, but it's worth it. Every second of it. And this is the only time that in the Torah, we have this concept, and the Gemara brings it down, that you become a partner with God when you become a parent. If you get a phone call, imagine right now, Roy sitting here, he's a great businessman, he's smart, I look up to him. He gets a phone call, looks on, is the phone call, the caller, he says, Elon Musk. What? He picks up the phone, yes. Elon says, Roy, I've been studying about you. I want to do a partnership with you. You bring 1,000, I put in $1 billion. And I want you to run the business. And you don't have to worry about any loss. I'm never going to get rid of you. I'm not going to fire you. I care about you. I know I love you. I care about you. Would you want to be partner with me? And you're going to Roy right now say, that guys, nice to meet you. I'll talk to you later. He's going to get out of it. He's going to go visit the Lamas. God comes and tells us that, listen, I want to partner with you. I want you to be partner with me. Husband, wife, and me. All I want from you, you give a sperm, you give an egg, and I give the soul. Are you ready for this partnership? Let me think about it. I don't want to stay up at night. I don't want to lose going around the world. I want to see the world. Go. Give up on the partnership. You become partner with God himself. You know what a blessing that is? Partnership with God. When we had our third miscarriage after 6 children, we had few years it passed. And my wife was already 40 years of age. And she was wondering, we were wondering, should you get pregnant? Because they say after 40, there's a chance the kids might not be healthy. So many. I was wondering, maybe she couldn't. Maybe her body cannot take it anymore. So I was wondering. I called my Rabbi, my Rav in Baltimore. But my Rav said him, Rabbi, what do you think? Maybe he was the wrong person to ask because he has 13 kids himself. But he's my Rav, and I know that he wants the best for everybody according to who they are. I said, what do you think? He said, I think this concept of partnership, if you look at it that way, is really worth it. I said, what about, they say that God forbid, things could be that kids, chas v'shalom, Down syndrome, could be issues. He says, I don't want chas v'shalom, never these things happen to you. I said, even a person who has a Down syndrome kid, special needs, he is still a partner, and in this partnership, his value and his reward is 100 times more than somebody else who has a normal kid. Because God said that I consider you to be so trustworthy that I have a special neshama that I feel I could do endowment. I could trust you with my special kid. Take care of this child for me. The Rabbanim in Israel, the ones who are big Kabbalists, when you see one of these special kids, when they stand up for them. They stand up in their honor. They said, this is a special neshama that in previous reincarnation, previous Gilgul, they did everything. They were such a high level. All they needed to do, they didn't need to be in this world to do mitzvot, to be aware. They needed to come in half awareness, and they just needed to be in a body for a few years. A month, a year, 10 years, 20 years, 50 years. This is a special person in this body. We need to respect them. That's why they stood up in front of them. Imagine that neshama wants to come to a family. I'm telling you, my wife said, I don't want such a child. I cannot handle it. I want a special, but I can't handle. So we pray. And thank God, Baruch Hashem, the last child was born, healthy, happy, Baruch Hashem. But that's how me and my wife were convinced that at the age that I was at that time, about she was 42, I was 43. She wasn't 40, she was 40, I was 40. It was about 10 years ago, yeah. About 10, 11 years ago, yeah. So we look back and we are happy. We're happy that we made that choice. And after that, my wife couldn't have kids anymore, and the question was answered. But we didn't have to make a choice anymore. But it's a partnership that if you look at it that way, as I said, Ur'e betuv Yerushalayim, look at the good. If you look at good, then everything else falls apart. And it just melts away. Child is going to wake you up. Child is going to have its own set of challenges, but it's the most rewarding. And anybody who's parent can tell you, I'm preaching to the choir. Anybody who's a parent can tell you that they would never, ever change any of their children with anything in the world. Nothing in the world. People give up their house, their life savings, just for their child to be healthy and happy. So that was a long-winded answer for your question. How do you prepare yourself? You prepare yourself as if that you're going into a partnership which is tremendous and valuable with God Himself, and you say that I'm ready. I was born for this. I'm going to embrace it, and I pray that God should give me the strength, the tolerance, the wisdom, the fortitude to be able to, me and my wife, me and my husband, to be able to raise these kids the way He wants us to. And may we all see nachat, as they say in Hebrew. May we all see a lot of joy and satisfaction from our kids. Amen. Thank you.
Two quick announcements. We borrowed some books from Rabbi's library to give out. That was a joke. These are actually new books. But if anybody wants some books, Pirkei Avot is my favorite, Ethics of the Fathers. I finished it with a few guys, and all of them got married shortly after. I don't know if it's a Segula rabbi, but some of them took a little longer.
That's another book, Pirkei Avot, to work on your character traits and learn the philosophy of life, definitely.
So highly recommend it. And if we can get 10 guys, we started after October 7th to say our beat for our brothers and sisters in Israel. So if we have 10 guys, we'll pray here on the side, and everybody else. Sure.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you so much.
Oh.